Hi, my name is Nadine Bernard, and we are here in the kitchen with the Halifax Public Libraries in the beautiful Sackville Public Library kitchen. A couple years ago, I had done a workshop here, and I was doing it on some small stovetop plug-in kind of appliances. So having this beautiful kitchen to work with is amazing. So today's recipe is my children's favorite. So this is sausage and lentil. I found this recipe on accident. I had some Italian sausages in the freezer, and I was looking around to see what I could make with it. I usually would make, the sausage in the oven and then adding some bacon and cheese and everything on a bun. But I really wanted something to cook in my slow cooker while I went to work. So I had looked at different cookbooks that I had and seen a recipe that was similar to sausage and lentil, and I love it. And I love it because we got to try different sausages, to kind of experiment with to see which would be the most favorite one. So we use the honey garlic sausages, Italian sausages for this one. So I cooked the Italian sausages first. I put it into the oven and I broiled that on broil for 20 to 25 minutes. And I do that just to kind of darken it, but it also brings out the juices and the flavoring. So once you cut it up and you add it to your recipe, the honey garlic juices and all the flavoring within this Italian sausage really escape really well into your sausage and lentil soup. So the other ingredients to this one is celery. So it usually calls for 3 stalks of celery, 3 carrots, 1 medium-sized onion, 2 cans of brown lentils, a can of diced tomatoes, and 6 cups of vegetable broth. So I have it in a bouillon cube and I just add the water to it. So these are all the ingredients that go within this recipe. So I'm just going to move the can aside for a second and start my celery. So I'm just going to go over and rinse off the celery because the base kind of grows in the ground, and anywhere you buy them, grocery store, or you pick it fresh from your garden, they would have some dirt remnants on there. So you just want to clean that off before you start to cook with it. So I'm just going to give it a quick rinse and I'll be right back. Celery is the vegetable that my son likes the least. He says it's too strong, but for this particular recipe, celery is probably the vegetable that gives the aromatic, the smelling, the strong smelling, wonderful smelling to this particular recipe. So I have to add a whole lot of things to change it up. So that's how I turned to the honey garlic, because the honey garlic I used to add to the slow cooker, not cooked, and it would be raw, and I would add to the bottom of my slow cooker, and then I would add all my vegetables. I was using mild Italian at the time, and I added all the ingredients to it, and my son kept saying all I can taste is the celery. So I needed to trick him a little bit. So I experimented with different Italian sausages, and we found honey garlic. So it makes it like a nice sweet kind of flavoring, and all the juices that evaporate from the Italian sausage from after you broil it really kind of pulls that strong taste from the celery, and so you still get that nice celery taste, which is really important to the recipe, but it's not overbearing anymore. So celery, all vegetables cook relatively quick. So you just kind of want it probably about half an inch of thickness there. Separate them all. They don't have to be exactly perfect. I mean, some get a little bit thinner than the others, but you just want something that's a little bite-sized for the recipe. A lot of the recipes that I work with have kind of base vegetables that are common in a lot of the recipes that I use. So carrots, celery, onions, cabbage are something I use often, so I like to get the larger bags, like 5, sometimes 10 pound of carrots. We're currently growing our own vegetables in our garden, so my carrots are a little bit slow this year and they're a little small. We showing my granddaughter what they look like because she was really curious to see all this, on the top of a carrot growing out of the ground would have a nice green, fluffy kind of leaves growing out of the ground. So she was really curious as to, that's not carrots, because what she sees as a carrot is the finished product of something. And also in most grocery stores, what you would call grade A would be the ones that look kind of perfect without any blemishes. So I wanted to show her the realism of what carrots look like when they grow in their natural environment. So we had pulled it out and they still hadn't come into full bloom, and they were a little crooked and some of them were a little small, and she was just amazed with it. So it's nice to have a garden to show kids, the variety of vegetables that grow in a natural environment. I have tried cooking carrots with the skin on, because I had heard there was lots of nutritional value within the vegetable peeling, so I figured I would try it. And it just changed the whole flavoring of the recipe. So from then on, I have always peeled my carrots to remove the skin off. So I just cut off the tops there. Same with your carrots. You always want them to be about the size of like 2 toonies together. Because you don't want them too thin, because then they overcook and they get smushy in the slow cooker or when you start to boil them. So you want them to kind of have a little bit of thickness to it so that they cook evenly with the rest of the vegetables in your recipe, and then they don't have that smushy kind of taste to it. You want them to have a nice soft kind of bite to it. So sausage and lentil, I can almost guarantee is going to be your new family favorite to try, or just as an individual to try. It goes a long way. And the great thing about it too, by adding the lentils to it, so the lentils are where the lentils and the vegetables, so the carrots and the celery, help to increase your fiber intake. So, so it offsets the cholesterol, the salt that are in this Italian sausages. Because, we always hear in media how processed meat and sausages and stuff are so bad for you. But if you balance your diet with more fiber in there, then it helps to draw out all the cholesterol that you've consumed and take it, kind of remove it from your body. So this is a great way to have that, great tasting sausage incorporated into your diet, but then to also enjoy it as a meal and not feel guilty about it. So that's something that I had learned. Not that I encourage having sausage more than, once or twice a week. But we talk about balance, right? And so balance in our own diet is really important. I have a family who have high chronic diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. And so my greatest fear was that as I aged, that I would have one of these chronic diseases because it's hereditary. And so learning about the foods that I consume and how food can be my medicine and how food can help me to be able to have a stronger immune system, to be able to fight off the possibility of increasing my chances of having any of those chronic diseases. As a mother of young adult children, I would like to see my kids grow up and grow old together, and I would like to witness a lot of the great things. So good health is really important for that. So enjoying a life too, so not having to be confined to having to rely on medication. My father takes probably 11 different medications, so that's really scary and intimidating. So if I can do all the things I can early in life, before it becomes an issue to me, I use food as my medicine to be able to balance out my diet. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my McDonald's and my Kraft dinner and hot dog nights too, but like I had said, it's all about balance as well. So having those unhealthy food choices balanced out with some health food choices always works out in the end. And what I like about the sausage and lentil recipe, it is super easy. It's only 3 vegetables that go in there. It's the celery, the carrot, and the onion, which still gives it its nice color. The lentils, the diced tomatoes, the Italian seasoning, and the bay leaf. So this is all the vegetables mixed together. You know, I like the carrots and the celery mixed with the onions because it just gives it nice vibrancy and really enhances the color that's in there. So I would just add that to my pot. So here is the Italian sausage. So I had gotten, I just purchased a small container of Italian sausages. So this particular flavor is the honey garlic, and it's uncooked. So I would just throw this into the oven on broil for probably 25 minutes. All you want to do is really draw out the juices and the flavoring that's within the sausage. So poke a couple holes into each of them, so it forces the juices to come out of the skin, and so it absorbs better once you add it to your recipe. So, and I just cut them up into that size here. It doesn't cook thoroughly when you put it into the oven for broil, but it cooks thoroughly once you add it to your recipe. So it cooks it about halfway through, just enough for the outer parts of the skin to kind of keep in the juices within it. So I just chopped it up there right before I had started cutting the vegetables and cooking it in the oven. So I'm just going to add that to my rest of my ingredients now. I've used apple sausages, I've used apple blueberry sausages, mild Italian, hot Italian, but nothing beats honey garlic. It just really brings a lot of flavor to it, and it is delicious. I'm telling you, you'll never go back. This will be something you'll be having in your home often. And it reheats really well. You don't have to worry about it getting mushy or anything. It keeps its texture pretty good. So any of the beans that you get in your can, there's preservatives and there's salt that's usually added to it, and that's what kind of preserves the beans within the can. So I always encourage people to rinse off any of their beans that they have in cans. So I'm just going to do a light rinse there with some cold water, and I'll be right back. So what you're trying to take off, so you'll see within the can there how it has like that thick film that's in there. So that's what once you kind of empty the can into your strainer, that's what you'll see, like in kind of clumps. So that's what you're trying to get rid of, is to rinse off all of that off of your lentils before you add it to your recipe. So the lentils, once you add water to it, and that's why you need a larger pot or an 8-quart slow cooker, because the lentils will want to soak up their water in like 2 seconds. So having more water to it is really important. Here we're going to add a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. Good old bay leaf. And a can of diced tomatoes. One of the quicker recipes to make, you know, once you're kind of familiar and comfortable in the kitchen, cutting all those vegetables, you know, can be done in like 10 minutes. And just adding the vegetable bouillon, and then I can add the water. So this is what it looks like right now before I add the water. And again, this is not going to look too much different from when it's fully cooked, other than the coloring will be just a little bit more less vibrant, but the carrots pretty well keep their color in there, and same with the celery too. But just look how beautiful that is. You know, here's the sausages in there, the diced tomatoes, the celery, the onions, the carrots, the Italian seasoning, and the brown lentils on top of that. So I'm just going to add some water to it. So one of the rules of thumb with my recipes is if you're going to cook it in a slow cooker, then you don't want the water to be going over your food. So you want to kind of just meet the food, so you can kind of see it's still a little bit over, under the ingredients are covering the water more. That's because the slow cooker kind of cooks from the outside in, and it doesn't need to be boiling over. But when it's in a pot, you want it to be covering your vegetables, so they're kind of sitting and swimming within the liquid that's in there, and then you want it to bring to a good boil. So letting it boil to a good boil, about 25 minutes, and then put it on simmer, so between 4 and 5, and let it simmer for about 10 minutes on top. The carrots cook relatively quick, so the carrots will actually start cooking within the first 20 minutes, and then the celery probably within 10 or 15 minutes. So what you want is for all the flavoring and the juices to kind of mix together, and you want the sausages to cook thoroughly. So that's what the low boil for the 10-15 minutes on top of the strong boil coming together for it. So that is it. That is one of the easier recipes, really, really flavorful. I used to add maple syrup to it to really enhance out the sweet flavoring and kind of helping. So I would put the maple syrup or the brown sugar on top of the Italian sausages when I would add it to it, so it would be like a nice sweeter kind of juice soup within the recipe. So this is it here with all the liquid, and just beautiful. The great thing about garden season is the vibrancy of vegetables, and this will be, I guarantee, will be one of your family favorites. So here you go, folks. This is your sausage and lentil soup. So thank you so much, and enjoy. Thanks.